Okay.
I am not Jerome. I am Jay, little brother of Jerome. I know you're used to seeing that face, but get used to not seeing it because you're about to be seeing this one. Um, Today, we have the lovely Candice Brown. Go ahead, say hi.
Hi, everybody.
Candice Brown is a little tired because we did like 17 takes. We're having technical difficulties, but we're going to push through today. Uh, Candice Brown is a business partner and a future broker, also a financial wizard. I was going to go through the bio, but it's a very long bio.
That's what it is.
We will have a bio for you. Candice, tell us about yourself just a little bit.
A little bit about me. I started off as a registered nurse. That's what I went to college for. And then I came into this financial space because the pandemic did me in. I was tired of working 12-hour shifts and being away from my son. And I wanted to do a career change. So I was presented with the opportunity to get to know more about how to manage my money. And I jumped at the chance to be able to do so. I have a 14-year-old son who gives me gray hairs, but just pray for me. Get ready to go through high school, y'all. Um, but other than that, that's pretty much it about me. I've been into this entrepreneurial space for about a year and a half now. It was something that I never pictured myself going into. I was always taught go to school, get good grades, get a good job, and then retire. And I came into this space and haven't looked back. So
Okay. So you sell what?
So I'm in financial services. I do a multitude of different things. Our main product is our life insurance. That is mainly my bread and butter, but where I thrive in is securities. So what securities are your investments. So that's stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, condos that you fund through your business, that type of thing. That's where I like to spend most of my time.
Okay. I would like to touch back on that in a little. Well, my first question is probably one that you don't hear often, but why do I need life insurance?
That's actually a question I hear a lot, especially within the Black and Brown community. A lot of people don't see the need for life insurance, but other ethnic backgrounds have been using it for years to build generational wealth for their families. And it's something that we need to start talking about a lot more because it literally creates an instant estate for your family. If God forbid something was to happen to you, your family would have access to this money within 2 to 3 business days. So then that way they could take care of your burial as well as fund their dreams going forward, pay off your house, pay off any debt that you have outstanding, as well as send your kids to school or start that business that they've always been wanting to start. So it's definitely something that a lot more people need to talk about. That's the main reason why you need life insurance. A lot of people think that, oh, well, I'm single, I'm young, I have plenty of time, I don't need to get life insurance. But that's actually the perfect time to get it because you are the youngest and the healthiest you are right now. That's the one you're going to pay the least amount for your monthly premium. That's when you have not as many diseases or diagnoses. So you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of that because that's when you can lock in a certain rate. So then that way, come later on down the line, that you don't have to pay a higher amount when you're 60 or 70 years old. Because that's when a lot of people tend to think about getting life insurance is when they already have a comorbidity. And what a comorbidity is that's my nursing degree coming out, y'all. So bear with me. But um, that's just with having a different disease. So, like if you had high blood pressure, cancer, tumors, anything like that, that usually comes later on down the line. So, we suggest for everybody to get a life insurance policy while they're the youngest and they're healthiest. So then that way you could prevent and save yourself some money in the future.
Okay. So are you saying that it'd probably be in my best interest to get a policy in my 20s as opposed to waiting until I'm 60?
Absolutely.
How
Absolutely.
significant would the rate difference be?
Um, it could save you thousands of dollars, thousands. Um, just on that alone, just because, like I said, insurance is based on your age as well as your medical conditions.
Right.
So, youngest that you are right now, that's the best time to get it. Say you were in your 20s, you're going to pay maybe 30 dollars per month for $100,000 worth of life insurance coverage. So of course you will want to get more as long as your expenses or you buy a home or anything like that increases, you're going to want to get more so that way you can protect your income. But starting off, $100,000 would take care of any of the expenses that you currently have right now as a 20-year-old.
Right. Okay. Um, that leads me to, is this something that you always wanted to do? Did you always want to be in this game? Did you always want to be in the insurance selling game or selling services as such?
Actually, no. Like I said before, being an entrepreneur was something that I never pictured myself getting into. I was always the type of person to go to school. I was always taught to go to school, get a good job, and then work for somebody. But I feel like once I came into this space and I seen the beauty of being able to make your own schedule and seeing how I can do this to help other people, it kind of changed my mindset. And I felt like it's hard for me to want to go back to having a boss because right now I'm my own boss. I make my own schedule, and that's another level of entrepreneurship that a lot of people don't talk about. Is that yeah, nobody wants a boss, but at the end of the day, your level of self accountability that you have to have for yourself when you're in an entrepreneurial space has to be on 1,000 because you have to be the person that's saying, all right, well, if I don't make a certain amount of sales or if I don't talk to a certain amount of people, my family doesn't eat. So
Absolutely.
that's where a lot of people they think that they want that time freedom when it comes to being an entrepreneurial space or that you don't have a boss, but you do. You are your own boss. So you have to hold yourself accountable to a different level and a different standard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With that being said, what's the most important lesson that you learned in your career?
Say that one more time.
What's the most important lesson that you've learned over your career?
The most important lesson I've learned over my career would be that the people that you think are going to support you won't, and the people that you don't think will support you will. I've gotten so much more support from strangers than I have from my own family. Um, has been definitely a eye opener for me. They always say, like I've always heard this saying, like if you want to see who your true friends are, your true family are, start a business. And that is so true. And I understand from the aspect of me coming from such a safe career, me being a nurse. Everyone talks about, oh, well, you a nurse, you got a good job, you make good money and everything like that. But it was literally sucking my soul out of my body. Like me being away from my son and talking with him about it. Once I came into this entrepreneurial space, he told me, he was like, yeah, I remember you coming home with migraines and like laying on a couch and not wanting to do anything because you're drained so much from your job. And I'm like, why am I putting so much energy into someone else's dream when I could be funding my own? So I feel like coming into this space, knowing that a lot of people may not support you in the beginning because being a nurse was such a safe career, and then you stepping out on your own and not necessarily knowing where your next paycheck or whatever is coming from, and then asking them for support, and then they're saying, oh well, I'm good, I don't need any of the services that you're offering. It hurt a lot. But then I just learned to pivot. You gotta, especially in this space, you have to learn how to pivot very quickly when it comes to speaking with people, because a lot of times the people that you know and love, they may not support you. So go out and find your tribe, because there's too many people out here on this earth that you can't be successful. So you just got to have that perseverance to know that what you're doing is meaningful. It's going to help a lot of people. So you just have to find the right people that you need to go help.
Okay. Absolutely. 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 I feel that 100%.
Mhm.
I definitely feel that. I think everybody can relate to that to some degree. Um, but a lot of people probably would not like to talk about it, or would probably be completely denial about it, or make excuses about it. Now, what and what you do? What's one of the most common misperceptions about what you do?
Um, a lot of people think, oh, this is a good one, especially within our community. They're like, oh, well, you do life insurance. Oh, so you just setting my family up. So when I die, they're going to be rich. And it's like, wait a second. Wouldn't you want we always talk about how no one will ever take better care of our children the way we do, which is true. No one will ever take care of your kids better than you can. So why not put a policy in place to make sure that your kids are taken care of? So then that way, no one ever has to take care of your kids the way that you can. That's your last love letter that you're giving to your family. And a lot of times people see it as, oh, well, it's just about the money. And it's not just about the money. You're literally giving your time and your family time to grieve if something, God forbid, was to happen to you. Most on average, most employers only give you 3 days of bereavement. That's not enough time for you to be able to grieve. I lost my
No,
mom when I it's not. I lost my mom when I was 6 years old, and coming into this space, my dad had to rush right back to work. So that left me trying to, I mean, of course, we had family and friends that were helping out and everything like that. But at that same time, it still wasn't their responsibility. It ended up falling on him. So he had to do what he had to do in order to make sure that I was good, as well as um, like supply and prepare for our household, along with being without that parent missing and raising a young girl. So having loss of that aspect of a mother figure in the household, trying to maneuver and trying to figure out how to work around that, along with being a provider for me. So a lot of people don't take that into consideration, like, oh yeah, well, it's about the money, it's just about the money for your family. No, it's being able to give your family time to grieve. If my dad had a life insurance policy, or my mom, that was sufficient, he would have been able to take a month off from work to be able to go to therapy with me, or to be able to spend more time with me. So then that way we both could grieve properly the way we were supposed to. You get what I'm saying? But a lot of people don't take that into consideration. Of course,
absolutely.
it's about the money. You want to make sure that your family is taken care of. You want to make sure if you have a home, that's being able to that's paid off, or if your kids are going to college, that they have a college fund that's already funded. You don't have to worry about student loans or borrowing money or anything like that. But it's more than that.
I appreciate that you touched on the fact that there is not, you don't really get much time for bereavement. I lost my mom 3 years ago, and when that happened, I was working, and you got what, 3 to 5? I think it was either 5 or 3. All I know is I was back to work the next week.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I know. Everything was a blur from there. Everything was a blur while I was at work. And her policy wasn't sufficient in the slightest. Actually, it wasn't even enough to cover. There was a lot of out of pocket expenses. We'll just put it like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with what you have to offer and the knowledge that you're giving in these policies, I think it matters. What's the average price of a casket?
The average price of what?
Of a casket?
Um, Anywhere from like $5,000 to $10,000, depending on the bells and whistles you want for your family.
You know anybody who casually has that to spend on the deceased?
Absolutely not. And that's another thing. Coming into this space that really kind of. So my mom passing away when I was 6 years old was one of the driving forces for me becoming a nurse, because I wanted to make sure nothing like that. If in the case of emergency, I knew what to do. So me coming into this space, my mom didn't have a tombstone until I was 29. I had to buy that. Those tombstones, they 3 stacks, easy. And that's just like a basic one. That's not like one with the picture on it and
Marble and granite and the engravings and
that's what I'm saying. People don't realize that like an average funeral cost is about $15,000 to $20,000. So can you come up with that for a week, in a week for your family? If you can't, then you need to have a life insurance policy in place. Like that's a lot of money for anybody to come up with right out of in less than a week. But there's a lot of people, and I've had cases where there's been families having to leave their loved one in morgues for more than 30 days because their family couldn't come up with enough money to be able to bury them the way they wanted to. Like, how heartbreaking is that to know that, let alone you're trying to grieve the loss of your loved one, but then knowing that guilt that you're knowing that that person is still sitting in a morgue because your family can't come up with the money to be able to bury them the right way.
right.
You know, like,
Absolutely. That's absolutely terrible. And it's a terrifying thought. But this is why we need people like you. We need your team. Doesn't matter who they go with. I mean, it would make more sense to go with somebody who has the knowledge, but it really doesn't matter who they go with. We should probably get policies. I have one. I got mine. I feel like everybody should probably get one. We're not getting any younger. We're getting older. Time moves forward, and with that, death is indiscriminate. Um, why do you think it's so hard for people to have these conversations?
I think it's because no one ever wants to think about their own death. Like, no one, our time here is so finite. Like, we're only here for a flicker. And a lot of times people don't want to ever talk about their own demise. And it's like, why not? Because that's where you can leave a legacy. So then that way you can live on for generations and generations to come. Like, we all know the Rockefellers, we all know the Vanderbilts, we all know all of these other Disney. We know their names. Why can't your family's name be known? You know?
I I I hate all of you so bad. No, you should be fine. No, you should be fine.
Yeah, so I mean that's the main thing, is because I feel like a lot of times people don't ever want to think about their own death. Why not? When we all know that that's something that's going to happen to us all. Nobody here is going to live forever, but why not put a policy in place so that way your family's legacy can? Like, the policy that I have on myself, and I don't mind talking about this because a lot of times people don't like talking about how much life insurance they have. That's a whole nother conversation. But I have $1.3 million on my life. My son knows that. So he knows that, God forbid, something was to happen to me, he has $1.3 million coming to him. Now, there's certain things and stipulations that he has to accomplish in order to have access to that money. And that's another thing that I put in place. All right, now that we have a will, you have to either go to college or have some type of plan in place, a business plan in place that's showing you that you're going to be using this money in an efficient way. So then that way the money can continue to grow. But when you decide to have children or you decide to leave a legacy to someone, you can continue to pass it on.
Absolutely. Um, I'm sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
In your field, in
Mhm.
what you do, what is what characteristics, traits, or strengths do you need to have as a person to
Um,
succeed?
so I would definitely say you have to work on your mindset. Developing your mindset is definitely an important thing to do daily in this
In
space.
what way?
Listening to motivational videos, having a coach, speaking with someone on a day-to-day basis that's going to charge you up, that's going to uplift you, because there will be days where you'll feel defeated, where you'll feel like, am I not doing enough? What am I doing wrong? Um, why am I getting so many no's? But This business is a numbers game, and a lot of times, especially with our target market, we do a lot of education because a lot of people don't see the need for life insurance or don't understand the need for what we do. So it's a lot of having to re-educate people on why they need to have certain things in place for themselves and for their family. So making sure that you have a good coach. What I do personally is that I listen to YouTube videos. I just search up morning motivation, and I'll listen to YouTube videos every morning just to get myself together. I also meditate. That's another way to help get myself ready to be able to tackle all my day, because a lot of times you're pouring out to so many people. You have to make sure that you're refilling your cup too. So having a strong mindset, constantly working on your mindset, is a great way to thrive in this business. And then learning how to be a people person, because we're in a relationship business. So the clients that I have, I know their children's birthdays. I know when their wedding anniversaries are, that type of thing. I get to know my clients, so then that way we build a relationship over years. Because things in their life are going to change. They could have a new baby, they could get a divorce, they could get married, whatever the case may be. I want to be there to be able to be there for them when those things happen.
Right. Okay. What's one of the biggest challenges that you faced in your career thus far?
Um, I would have to say probably working on my mindset. That was one of the biggest challenges that I faced in the beginning coming out, because me being a technical person, coming into this space, I felt like I needed to know everything about the insurance industry before I can go out there and start educating people about it. And
Right.
my coach will always tell me, like, no, we just need to get you out there and do it. And I was like, but wait, I got to pass the test first, and then I can go and talk to people about it. But that on the job training or that on the Zoom training of learning how to overcome objections and learning how to talk to people is really where, of course, you want the technical things. You want to know the different types of life insurances. You want to know how to educate your clients, but you want to make sure that you're actually getting out there and getting your foot in the door and taking action. So I would say, me being a technical person, that was probably my hardest challenge that I had to overcome, is just learning how to be more action based, um, and working on my mindset that way.
Okay. So let me ask you, and this is kind of a twofer.
Mhm.
How how does someone bring immediate value to your business, and how does someone bring long term value to your business?
I would say immediate value, send me referrals or join me. I'm I'm all about that, because I feel like I said, the 7,300 people die in America every single day. So there's not enough people that have policies in place that are dying, um, that I could possibly help. You get what I'm saying? There's too many people on this earth that I can't reach in 24 hours. So I would love to share this opportunity with anybody that wants an extra stream of income. So I would definitely say that's how you can bring me immediate value, right away, is either send me referrals of people that you know and love that could benefit from the information that I share with them or share with you, as well as join me in this crusade, because a lot of times, especially with other insurance companies, they people are being taken advantage of, and they don't realize it. They don't read over their policies. They just think that oh, well, I got life insurance, I'm good. But no, a lot of times there's certain stipulations in those policies, like a no war exclusion. If you die for a terrorist attack, if you die overseas, if you died in the World Trade Centers, they did not pay out. Our company does. And a lot of people don't realize that if you don't have a death certificate, there's no death certificate. The company doesn't have to pay, but our company does. So I really take it personal that our company goes out of their way to pay out as much as they possibly can, as long as when you fill out your application, you're moral, you're ethical, you're truthful on your application. They're going to pay out your death claim if something was to happen to you.
Okay, so this is something that we I didn't even know that. That's insanity, and I'm a vet, so I definitely never knew that. I feel like this is something that is not talked about often. I feel like it's something that should be talked about, and we need to present a platform where you're able to have these conversations, and it's a lot easier. Um, but that's hopefully that's something that you have in the future.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what
Absolutely.
about long term? You gave me short term. Was that also long term? Do they go hand in hand? Do they
They
coincide?
kind of do go hand in hand. I would say long term, right now I'm on a big push for educating 60 and over. So I would say if you know any, because right now we're in the biggest wealth
Why
transfer,
60 and older?
because we're in the biggest wealth transfer in America right now, because all of the baby boomers and everything like that, they are getting close to retirement. And a lot of times they don't know necessarily how they're going to be able to retire. So with me being in the security space, like I said, that's my bread and butter. That's where I kind of like to spend most of my time, and just educating them on their options. Of course, like I had a situation where I was at an event and this older gentleman came up to me and was like, "Well, I already got everything already set up. So what value can you bring to me being at the age that I am?" And I was a little taken back at it because everybody thinks because I'm young, I'm 33, y'all. So I'm young, but I know a little bit. But me coming into this space, he was like, "Oh, well, what could you possibly educate me on?" And I was like, "Well, you being a professional in the industry that you're in, I'm a professional in the industry that I'm in. So you may not know about different investment options that you could possibly do with what you currently have in place. Do you have those conversations with your investment advisor about how they're managing your portfolio with the recession? Has that person reached out to you personally and said, all right, let's go over your portfolio, let's rebalance, so then that way we're mitigating the risk as well as still helping you gain certain amount of return, so then that way you can retire with dignity and not have to worry about whether it's a recession, depression, or whatever the case may be going on in the world. My money is still doing what I needed to do and still working for me. And he was like, "Oh, well, I guess that makes sense." Yeah, that makes sense, because I'm a professional all the way in my industry. I'm not going to do anything that's not ethical or unethical or unmoral. I'm in the best interest of my clients. I want to make sure that at the end of the day, you're happy with my services, because in that way, you're gonna want to refer people to me. You're gonna want to say, "Hey, listen, she took care of me. She educated me, but also took the time to make sure that I understood what exactly was going on in my with my money." And a lot of times with investment advisors, they don't. I know personally for me, before I had started with investing, investing became everything is cool now because of Bitcoin and ETFs and everything like that. So I got in to Bitcoin a little bit earlier, but when I first started, I opened up an account with TD Ameritrade to open up stocks and to learn about stocks. I reached out to them and said, "Hey, can someone educate me on my different options as far as investing?" And the representative said, "Well, do you have $25,000?" And I was like, "Oh, well, excuse me, let me get my money up." But at the same time, it's like, well, how is anybody supposed to? I'm serious though, but how is anybody supposed to start learning how to invest if no one is taking the time to teach them how to invest? Like with our company, we start off with $25 per month. So that's a pizza night. That's a pizza night that you can sacrifice to be able to set your family up for generations to come. So then that way you can start getting started with investing.
You said 25, right? That's
25.
like that's like a day and a half worth of lunch at work for me. I'm gonna just be honest. Just putting that out there. That's like a trip and a half to Wawa. What? 13? It's be like 13, 14 for me to get all my goodies for that day. That's like, yeah, that's like 2 days of Wawa. And you saying that that's it's possible to do that with 25.
But $25 per month.
That's
Yes.
2 days of lunch for me in a week.
And that's why I'm so passionate about this space, because no one ever took the time to educate me about how to get started with investing. So
Right.
now I have the opportunity to be able to educate as many people that's willing to listen how to get started with investing and not have to have $25,000. You could start with $25. Of course, if you have her, great. Come on, I'll show you what to do with that as well. But you have to start in order to you have to start. You have to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. See, these are things that we don't know. We don't know these things. We are regular, average day civilians going about our lives. Oh my God! Think about all mm, the kids that are out here. They're and it sucks to say it, but it's not really a morbid conversation only in the sense that it is about death. But how many people died from gun violence this year? We're already at like 350, and it's
Yeah,
August.
and that's only in
How many of
Philly.
those people had a policy?
I've seen so many. And that's the part that was making me so sad. Especially, I don't know if you heard about there was a case where this woman, she had 6 daughters and was killed. Like the guy came into her car, murdered her, like stabbed her in her head, and they had to put up a GoFundMe because how are these 6 babies going to survive now without their mom? Because they lost their mom and their dad.
Mm,
So you get what I'm saying? So it's like we don't like having these conversations, but it's a conversation that we need to have. And then once we have it in place, then you can go on about your life. Then all right, I'm doing everything I possibly can for my family if God forbid something was to happen.
absolutely. Oh my goodness. Listen, we can do this all day. How I feel like you have made it very clear how important it is to have these policies. I don't know what other people are thinking. I don't know what they're thinking, but I know that they say, what is it, like a 70% chance that you get hit by a stray when you walk outside for whatever reason. It's a 70% chance that I might die and leave nothing for my family. That's
Mm.
insanity. That is, I'm not comfortable with the thought of that. I don't feel like anybody else should be comfortable with the thought of that. We could probably do this all day. You have been so insightful, and I feel like there's so much more. I can see it in your face. I see that there's so much more that you need to say. And please tell us how are we going to be able to find this information from? How are we going to be able to find this information from Candice?
So I would think the best way to get in contact with me would be you can follow me on social media. My social media on Instagram is financial free awaits. That is the same for Facebook as well. You can also send me an email at Candice at financial free awaits. My direct line is 215, what is it? 792-4126. That's the best way to get in contact with me. Like I said, if I don't respond right away, just say, listen, I seen you on the podcast. Um, I wanted to learn some more information. And I always do free 30-minute consultations. So then that way we could come up with a game plan for you and your family. That would be the best way to reach out to me is social media or send me an email.
Okay. Listen, this is kind of a rough. I would love to do this just one more time because
Mm-hmm.
we never even got to discuss the other side. We
The other
never
side.
got to discuss investing. We never got to discuss investing. And that's because you have so much to say and so much to offer about just the life insurance side, which is very important. Again, the bread and butter is here and there. I feel like it'll probably be both. So that's definitely something that we're going to need to do as well. If you could leave us today, just everybody that's watching, if you could leave us with one word without explaining, what would that word be?
Um, that one word would be
It can't be invest.
persistence.
Persistence. Y'all heard it here first. Persistence. Actually, us even getting this done took a lot of persistence. Um, with that being said, Candice Brown, it was absolutely magnificent, a thrill. I'm dithyrambic to even have had the opportunity to speak with you and get your message out to the people. Tell them what they need to do. They need to be getting these policies. Seriously, it's not a yo. If you don't have that 4, 5, 6, 7K to get a casket, please do something for your family, do something for your pockets, do something for your wallet, do something for your mental sanity, stability. And I'm telling you from experience, coming out of pocket for funeral expenses while you're grieving, you will never get that time back. And realistically, you'll probably never get that money back. Even if you did, it won't matter. Candice, you can go ahead and head on out. You go ahead and say bye to the people.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure. I cannot wait to come back on so we can talk about investments. But thank you again for having me. I truly appreciate you.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they'll appreciate me as well. Y'all not getting Jerome back.